Hello, welcome back. Another live stream. Yes, painting more miniatures, the Flumph. And I have every intention of talking along as I do this, so feel free to ask questions. That's the normal process here. We ask questions, we get going, we do some stuff, we hang out. It's my holiday, so this is very informal. If you have some paints, some miniatures, feel free to join with me. So if you've got those paints, miniatures and brushes, get them ready. Let's make it happen. I'm also very much intended to talk about Flumphs as I go. So if you're wondering if I would, I would. Also, will probably drop a little bit of a hint as to what you might expect in the future. If you're not really interested in painting miniatures, then I would suggest just grab some food, drink, get comfortable, and let's do this. I'm going to run for about an hour, and then we'll go from there. Hi, welcome to HowtoDandD. My name is Fred Wheeler, and today I'm going to paint a Flumph. That's right, the fart monster. I'm going to paint that thing. The thing that everybody else thinks is strange, well, because they are strange. I have been reluctant to paint the Flumph because it's a very delicate miniature. It's quite small, and it's kind of hard to get it all the bits and pieces on it. So I have usually steered away from grabbing a Flumph. But today, I'm going to be adventurous. We're going to give it a go. I'm going to try and paint it something like this, but I also have every intention of painting one green to represent the fact that it's curious, because apparently that's sort of the thing that happens. I am not going to be zooming in really, really tight, even though it's a small miniature, just because it's not going to be practical. I'm also going to be running a poll. So what experience do you have with Flumphs in Dungeons & Dragons? And I've given you some options to choose from, up to you. Hi Pale Rider, how's it going? What is the best intro to an adventure? So there's a question I have to answer while we're doing this. And I have to say that the Inn and Tavern is definitely not on my list. Although there is an opening with a tavern or an inn that I do like. I will talk about that. Hi Big Kid, it's been a while. Welcome back. Man, I've always wanted to have one of those in the game. Yeah, look, I've run Flumphs before, so I do have a bit of experience, and today I'm going to be painting one. So let's get started while I get myself ready in terms of answering the first question, which is, I believe, the best way to start an adventure. Now, if you're going to use an inn or a tavern, which I feel is the weakest way to do anything, I suppose I should just say, in terms of clean up on the mold lines, these things actually are not too bad on the body. On the tentacle bits, they suck because there are very small mold lines, but you really can't deal with them because it is so delicate and it's very easy to break everything off. So I didn't take all the mold lines off the tentacles. It just wasn't going to be practical. The body and the top of it, yes, that was fine. That wasn't too difficult. So let's get these going. I'm going to be painting each one slightly differently. So because I'm not a fan of the inn or tavern, just bear with me because they're actually really, really delicate and I could easily break off something when I'm sticking this on here. So I want to make sure I get it right. I'm inclined to blow up the tavern or inn as a starting intro. You know, they all meet in a tavern, start talking or not getting very far, and then there's a fire or I blow it up and there's an explosion. Make something happen. That's what I say when it comes to taverns and inns, because then they have to put out the fire or they have to chase up after the individual who blew up the tavern or inn because now they can't drink there anymore. There's nothing worse. And if you really want to get the fundamental motives of your players and their characters, then take away their alcohol their fake alcohol that they can drink in their game. That's my suggestion to you. My favourite way of starting a campaign is usually to start with like the James Bond start, where there's an adventure, it's already happening, and that's their starting point. There's this mission, it's a small one, whatever it is, and they just straight into the action. I think that's a better way to start any kind of adventure. James Bond movies had it down. Pale Rider, I imagine a kind of riding it holding onto the eye stalks. Do you want to ride it? Why not? Hello, Joe. How's it going, Overboard DM? All right, so let's start off with the base. Actually, no, we're not going to start off with the base. We're going to start off with the base colors on the body and the tentacles. So I'm going to be using zombie flesh. One of them is going to be sort of a light khaki yellow color, and then one is going to be green. That's what I'm doing today. Pardon me. So did I answer your question the way you were expecting? Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. Who knows? What do you got here, Todd? Begin the adventure as they are all in line for the privy. Yeah, start them at the toilet. Todd, you know me too well. And inside the privy is a giant purple worm that tries to eat them, and they've all got to help the individual who decided to sit on the long drop from being eaten by this terrible creature. Oh, I just forgot. I was going to put black into the mouth section. I'll do that now. Pale Rider, we got you here. Scott, how's it going? There, black. We'll get back to that colour. I'm getting sidetracked. Like that wasn't going to happen. I'm going to try really hard to get this done today. Okay, we're going to work fast if I can. I've got 2 miniatures, so there's a good chance that I will be able to pull it off, I feel. Right, so that's the black. Let's hit this. I'm going to go inside and here, inside the mouth. That's it. And then the next one, go inside the next mouth. Like that. Sweet. Okay. And that was easy. That was fairly simple. Oh, you guys are drinking? All right. Well, you don't want to be blowing up the tavern then, dear. Hey, it's holiday time. People are allowed to get the alcohol out and have a good time, right? That's the whole thing with this time of the year. Not everybody's drinking, but you know. It's normal. It's normal. It's the thing. I mean, even if it wasn't, it's chill and relax time. But I have something to help make that possible, right? Now, I feel like the stalks on these things are going to get in the way a lot. I don't know that I'm going to freak out too much about that fact, because trying to paint around them is, frankly, going to be extremely difficult. Yeah, just angles and so forth, getting the paint in there, hard to do. What else? What do you got here, Pale Rider? Fred, yep, the start off sounds good. That's how we did it back in the day. Yeah, I look, I'm not saying that you can't start off with, you know, a social role-play encounter, but often I think the best way, and I'm not saying you start off with a combat, but I'm starting off with some action, something happening. It can be a chase, it can be something falling apart, building collapsing, it can be in the middle of infiltrating something. You know, you guys know, you've watched James Bond movies, you know the deal. That would be my suggestion. Anyway. So, let's talk about the Flumph. Oh, hang on, too late. Somebody else is what do you got here? Dick Spunpkin, how's it going? Beginner painter question. Some of my paints are very thin and the colours are separated when they come out of the bottle. I shake them, well, but they still end up like that. What do I do? Okay, my advice, but there's a whole lot of people in here who can explain this better. I know Joe can, I know a lot of the others can too. But my suggestion is put the paint out after you've done that. And if you don't have anything that you can add to it to help thicken it up, because there are products that do that, leave it on the palette for a little while. Okay, leave it on the palette for a little while, and it will start to sort of dry out, and it will thicken as it dries, and then use the paint. Does that make sense? It's often a technique that I use when I find myself with a paint that's very, very thin. Some paints are just so thin that you just want to avoid them completely, and there's nothing you can do about it. But if it's not that situation, and you won't know until you try, then that's a technique and a way of going about it. God, these things are going to be so hard to paint on the inside. Frankly, I wish they had made them a little bit easier to actually get at. They're not. They're very, very difficult. So, yeah, Bumpkin, hopefully that's going to help you in some way, okay? It's a long weekend, so mostly drinking and watching movies. Fair enough. Any suggestions on movies? Oh, well, it depends. I mean, do you watch a lot of movies? I love movies. I watch a lot of movies, and certainly I can talk about. If you're wanting good movies that are recent, I probably can't help you because I really haven't been watching anything recent. But if you're happy for me to give you advice on stuff that is older, then absolutely. But what sort of movies do you like first before we even go there? Or does that not really matter to you? There's not a genre of movie that you prefer. So a little bit more information and I'd be happy to answer that question. Yellowbeard, favourite movie. I remember Yellowbeard. It's quite funny, that one, yes. It takes the piss out of all of the pirate movies that have ever been made. So it is a very good movie. I do remember it. It reminds me of Mellow Yellow and the advert nonsense that used to take place with them. Classic movie, pirate themed comedy. Absolutely, that's the one. Yeah, you've watched it, been years. Ice Pirates is a science fiction pirate movie, which is downright bizarre and strange as you in a way that you cannot imagine. But it is still a very good movie. Low budget, as they tended to be. But if you look at, I mean, what do you want? Do you want comedy? Do you want drama? Do you want action? Do you just want really quality movies? And, you know, you've got to give us a little bit more information. Bear with me while I just get around this mouth here. That's that. Cool. What do you got here, Todd? Painted the base to get a red dragon wingspan wider than my shoulders. Oh, okay. The most recent movies suck. Yes, that does tend to happen, doesn't it, unfortunately. You like adventure, fantasy, of course. Okay, all right. So, Romancing the Stone, be top of my list in terms of a fun movie. Then after that, I'd say things like, gosh, I don't really like the Narnia movies. Legend with Tom Cruise, a very young Tom Cruise. I know that sounds strange, but it is actually a pretty good movie considering. I think Willow's very, very good movie. That's George Lucas. Who else? What else have we got here? I think Krull's not bad, but it is still a B movie. It has elements of fantasy, but you know. So yeah, I'd say that adventure. Or look, I mean, I would say Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark, and then I think the Temple of Doom is a very good movie too. I know a lot of people don't like it. The human sacrifice is usually what turns them off, right? I think that's pretty good. I think after that, I know a lot of people like The Last Crusade. I think it's all right. It's not really my fondest memory of that franchise. Then after that, I think it sort of falls apart, as you probably already guessed. The Crystal Skull is not a great movie. And I'm not entirely sure exactly why that's the case. I think that possibly, and I don't think it's because it was too wild an idea. I don't think that's the case at all. What else do we have? Journey to the Center of the Earth. I think that Brendan Fraser did a pretty good one. I think even the core, where they go into the center of the planet and they have to, because the planet's stopped rotating, or the inside of it stopped rotating, and they've got to re-jump start it. Is it Hilary Swank? I think it's Hilary Swank who's in that movie. I think that's a pretty good movie in terms of an adventure, and a very unusual and hostile environment. Mysterious Island, I don't know if you've ever seen that. It's a very old movie. I kind of like them. I like all of the old Sinbad movies in terms of adventures. Because I'm not concerned about the fact that they have stop motion in them, and if anything, that just highlights the fact that I want to watch them more. But that's just me, probably showing my age, whereas some people will prefer CGI. Okay, so there's another one. The Man Who Knew Too Much with Bill Murray is a very good movie. Yes, that's like a sleeper, that one. I also think that John Carter is an extremely good movie, which has got elements of science fiction and fantasy and adventure, and I feel like it should have done better at the box office, but I think the marketing behind that movie and the name change is what blew it to pieces. People just didn't know what they were going for. And it kind of looked like a period piece. And unfortunately, period piece movies, even if they're good, people don't really go and see them in droves. It's kind of unlikely. I would say the first Back to the Future is probably my favourite. I like Pitch Black, and I like the second Riddick movie. I did not like the next one after that as much. And I think possibly it's just because there's nobody sympathetic anymore in the story. You know what I mean? All the mercenaries, really, who gives a toss about them? They're just mercenaries. If they die, I won't be upset. They can perish, and it's all good as far as I'm concerned. So I think that's probably the problem with that third Riddick movie. What else have we got here? Oh, hopefully I can keep up with all of this. Yeah, the old Sinbad movies just sort of stand out. How's it going? Cabell is here. It's been a while. Okay, so I need to put some more of this paint out. I am painting as fast as I can. I think you're right. It is a shame we haven't seen very much of Hilary Swank. I think that she did some great movies, but she's just sort of fallen off the map. And this seems to happen to some actors, even if they are really good at what they are doing. They just disappear. Whether they're competing with, too many other people, or whether they just don't get the parts for whatever reason, who knows. It is a shame. And I think not seeing more stuff from her is a loss. And she has the ability to play really cool parts. What else have we got here? Clash of the Titans. I prefer the original, but I wouldn't say that the new remakes, Clash of the Titans or the Wrath of the Titans, is hugely terrible, but it isn't my favourite. In terms of an adventure, they're very action orientated, which is good for a modern audience. They're fast moving. Their special effects are top end, so a lot of people will be quite happy with that fact. It is not my favourite Greek mythology, and it's not. I think it's pretty clear that it isn't really Greek mythology, because it does take a lot of creative license. Can I just say that painting underneath these things is really, really hard. Jason and the Argonauts, absolutely. I think that's a pretty good one. I know there's a lot of old movies that I keep saying. I think E.T. is an excellent movie, and I'm glad they never made a remake of or a second sequel to that movie. It would have been a complete disaster, and I think Spielberg understood that when he was attempting to do so. I think that's a very good movie. What else? The Navigator. the explorers, which you probably don't even know about. Stand By Me. I like Stand By Me because it's kind of like a story of some kids that get together to go and see a dead body, and they find out, it's learning the reality of death, and they get up to all sorts of mischief and trouble along the way, and do what the kids normally do. So I actually like that movie quite a lot. Actually, Titans movie, I bleed because what? Ah. Right, okay. Okay, now I understand why YouTube decided to stop you from posting that. Yeah. I was trying to figure out what was going on. What was the other things that I've watched that I've really enjoyed? Oh, off the top of my head, I just can't think of anything right this very second. Give me some time and I'll get back to it. Okay, so that's that bit. There isn't a huge amount to these things. It's like color, change it up, and then move on to something else. I'm going to be using this troll skin, which is a dark green for the next one. Now, why am I using that color? Because I want one that is green, and I think that a lighter green is where I'm going eventually, but I'm going to start with a darker green. Okay, what do you got here? Do you paint minis that you plan using soon, or do you just... No, I'm not planning to. I've used Flumphs before. I'm not dungeon mastering right now. I'm on a break. My group take it in turns to do that sort of thing, and so as a result, I don't have to prep games, plan anything, have anything planned out. I can just do whatever I like, which is nice. It's nice to be able to bum around as a dungeon master, and essentially not call yourself a dungeon master. I'm just a player. I'm just another person at my home game table who's taking their turn in the queue to take on that duty. Which is probably why you're going to see a lot of videos getting released that have more of a player focus. They may appear to be video content that are for dungeon masters, but they are a player focus. Because I haven't really done that sort of thing. I was like, when you watch a video on this topic, it's usually for dungeon masters and not players, and yet we need players to watch those types of videos. So I'm going to be making them very much with the idea that it's for a player, with the dungeon master hopefully spotting it and then presenting it to their players and saying, I think you need to watch this first. So that, I guess that's where my head's at. So there's going to be a lot of that going on. All right, keep washing out the brush. Do you paint minis that you... No. Those things look like it would be easier to dip them in a base coat. Yeah, they probably could be dipped. I don't have paints that you can dip, but yeah, I think you're probably right there. I think it would be probably, if you've got paint dips, it might be very much a lot easier to do so. Now this dark green's not going over this primer that well, if you hadn't figured it out. It's going on very thin, which means that the next colour going over the top is going to have to do most of the work. Painting fairly quickly. Try and get it all on. I came across a new show Discovery of the Witches. Not great, but it's okay. Yeah, I've watched a little bit of the new Henry Cavill Witches series. It's all right. I think my brothers and my family like it more than I do. Then again, I don't really watch a lot of TV. I watch a lot of movies, but I don't watch a lot of TV. It's just, I don't know, they just stopped making things on TV that I enjoyed. You know, even the superhero stuff, I kind of still didn't really care too much for that either. Which is odd because I like superheroes. So, yeah, I don't know what to say other than somewhere along the line, TV just lost me, and I just felt like they weren't making stuff for my interests, and so I just focused more on movies, frankly. All right, what's this? It's a shame that all of the Dungeons and Dragons movies were crap. Yeah, they pretty much were. Yeah, they absolutely. They were pretty terrible. But I mean, to be fair, I don't think anybody's been willing to take a story that was established. Do you know what I mean? You're dealing with, if you try to compete with Lord of the Rings, which is a book that has been on the bestsellers for like forever. It's one of the most read books out there. So how do you compete with that? And even The Hobbit is right up in the top end in terms of sales. They keep printing it and they keep selling it, so people keep reading it, new generation. And it's because it's such a good story. But Dungeons and Dragons is not got that kind of thing behind it. There even you could say the Dragonlance novels, but to be fair, people don't know the Dragonlance novels as much as they know The Hobbit, or even The Wizard of Oz, or Alice in Wonderland, or anything like that. So I think they just don't have the story to actually make it stand out. And there are some very major things you have to hit with a story for it to work. And they've never been able to create that. Because, like all things, art is sometimes a bit of luck and also requires a significant level of skill. What do you got here, Scott? Yeah, they were even good even good B movies. Yes, like a B movie being... Look, I find it amazing that we have movies that are made on these topics and they have big budgets, which they never had before. There was never a big budget on them. How are we doing with our poll as I go through this? So a few people, 14 people have painted a miniature Flumph. 21 people have actually dungeon mastered one. 14 have interacted with one. I put down interact rather than fight. And 50% have no experience. Which is a shame, because you'd think that Flumphs would be popping up in your game if you've got a wild magic sorcerer. But they don't, because you've got to roll this dice nonsense and see what you get, which often means you won't get nothing. Extremely frustrating situation, if you ask me. This is going to be hugely difficult to get at. I can see this now. There is no way. Okay, so a warning for painting Flumphs. It might look like it's an easy thing to do, but because it's so difficult to get the paint where you want it, they're not. I can assure you now. Just because I can't get the paint where I want it to go, it is going to take significantly longer than normal. I am not convinced that I would do this as a follow-up part 2 to painting Flumphs. I'm not sure that I would do that. I feel like that would be just a bit much. The Daredevil series were pretty good. Okay, yeah. Daredevil TV series, yes, I did. I liked that. That was not bad. So that green didn't really do very much, but we'll leave it. If it rolls away, it rolls away. Okay. Next, we'll do the base on these, since I haven't done that yet. Oh dear. The adventure to make into a movie is Bloodstone. Okay, and the blood throwing. Yeah, I can agree with that. That's Bloodstone's pretty good. I think I got those names right. It was High Level Advanced Dungeons and Dragons Adventure. I don't know that many people would recognize Bloodstone though. Okay, so I don't think a lot of people would recognize it. I'm not convinced it would come off. But things like The Wizard of Oz, Alice in Wonderland, even Narnia, C.S. Lewis's Narnia, those stories, they have something behind them to really sort of help them stand out. So that's not to say that unless it's a popular book, it can't do well, because that's certainly not the case. Steven Spielberg has proven that more than a few times, although he has remade books as well and done extremely well with them. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not convinced of how easy that would be to do. What else? Spellfire novel by Ed Greenwood. Yeah, look, amongst the Dungeons and Dragons community, it might stand out. So there are better novels within the Dungeons and Dragons fiction that are probably going to do better. But can I point out that the Dungeons and Dragons cartoon did exceptionally well, and it was not based on any novelization. So, and I kind of feel like the only way that a Dungeons and Dragons movie is going to find its audience and separate itself from everything else is being the two-world model, where people are transferred or transferred to another world. I think that is the model that they probably need to pursue to separate it from all the other fantasy that's being floating around, because there's so much of it now. Now, I'm not saying that I won't be wrong about that, but I think that is the model that needs to be pursued, because Dungeons and Dragons is very much based on the concept of the weekend warrior. It is what we do to escape the world and all of the nonsense and shite that takes place. What else do you got here? Scott. I don't use many of the obscurish monsters, not that I dislike them or anything. I suppose I just use more common ones. Yeah, no, look, I used every single one because I wanted to see what they would do. Bumpkin, I've never used a Flumph since they just look goofy. They are goofy. It's one of the reasons why I like it. A lot of my games can be very serious, and and then suddenly something really goofy shows up, and it kind of shocks my players because they're not necessarily expecting it, unless they've played with me a really long time. Anybody at my table who's been there a while knows that some very strange things might show up every once in a while. And depending on my mood and demeanor, more often should I be in a... It's not even... look, if I'm in a bad mood, wacky comes out. If I'm in a good mood, wacky comes out. If I'm sort of just down the middle, then it's less likely to occur. So Flumphs are fine with me. It's just... I have actually planning... and including Flumphs in a upcoming mega dungeon for one of my games. All right. Oh, a movie that would draw in a lot of old players. Hunt for Bargle. I'm not familiar. Is that Bargle? Hunt for Bargle? I'm not familiar with it. Actually, we'd rather homebrew movie than span across the plains. I like the idea of going to plane hopping, which is why a lot of my stuff is sort of heading that way. Oh, by the way, for those of you who are wondering, there's a series called Fun with Monsters coming out on my channel. It's done with the Dungeon Master Roundtable, where I get a whole lot of people together with different ideas about taking the lore. A lot of the lawmakers are in these things. AJ Pickett, Dungeon Dad, people who can really sort of shake things up. And I think I talked with Eric and who else? I can't remember. Was it Wally? Eric and Wally? And we talked about Flumphs. So you've got a Fun with Monsters movie video coming out with flumphs as the discussion point, and I can assure you there's some crazy ideas there. And I'm pretty sure that the patrons have already seen the video, because I think I made it available to them. You guys will probably have to wait a very long time because the queue is incredibly long. I've queued up so many videos now, and releasing them faster just doesn't seem to be an option. But at least I'm not going to run out of material anytime soon. So yes, so this Flumph is like the mysterious farting floating jellyfish monster. They're actually really intelligent and wise. For an aberration, you wouldn't expect that they are, they're good-natured too, which is always nice. Intelligent, wise, but also good-natured, and an aberration, and they communicate telepathically. Right, so I'm going to get back to this one. I'm going to go with a darker colour, so this, no, lighter colour, sorry. We're going with the skeleton bone colour here, which is going over the top of the colour that I used before, which was the zombie flesh. Yes, the fun with so Camille, you're right. When is it coming? Fun with monsters, I don't know how far off it might be a couple of months before you finally see them. Because there's also a whole lot of videos from the Dungeon Master Roundtable on modifying and variant rules. And then some general stuff that's... So it might even wind up being 3 months before you see them. It could be a long time. But they are coming. And I'm not stopping them. Every time I have to host one of these things, I do another Fun with Monsters. Mainly because everybody there has so much fun and laughs so hard, and everybody gets so much more relaxed by doing it. I've decided that it's the go-to for me. And nobody's been complaining so far, I can assure you. Right, so let me just get this paint on here. So you can see that this colour is going to change things a lot. Hello, Camille. Now, somebody's trying to explain, if I remember right, Bargle was the enemy wizard from the old red boxed basic set. Okay, I wasn't aware of that. Yeah, okay, all right. Bumpkin, what do you got here? Really like that round table videos are dealing with the fire giants and how to get around slavery. Yeah, well, I mean, if you've watched my response to that, so I don't want to get political, okay, but all of the bad things in the world that exist, I like putting into my Dungeons and Dragons games. So slavery, the whole lot. And do you know why? It's because I want my players to have the opportunity to fight and be successful against it. And I kind of felt like if we start taking it away from the fire giants, then it's only a matter of time, as Esper the Bard has indicated, that we're going to wind up with the same thing happening with mind flayers and everything else. And so nobody's going to be engaging in slavery. We certainly aren't going to be able to get away with humans engaging in slavery, because that's even too close to home, apparently. So I'm not a fan of it. So my responses were very much in jest, and people can take offence to it. I don't like the idea of slavery or indentured servitude or some of the other things that actually, I mean, slavery is still a thing, a modern thing now, today. And other things where you wind up with this huge debt that you have to pay off to get from one country to another. These are real things. So I want it in my Dungeons and Dragons games so that players have the opportunity to actually break it down and stop it. And that's why I want it there. It is there for no other reason other than to give the players the opportunity to actually exert the kind of influence they know they probably can't in real life without winding up dead. So, And we probably deal with a lot of that sort of stuff in the Fun with Monsters series in other ways. It won't be just the fire giants, but it won't be just sort of all the political stuff as well, or the social climate stuff. Anyway, that's where I'm at with that, I guess. Yeah. Look, if you want to see some of the Fun with Monsters stuff, you can find it on Dungeon Class, because we did 4 of them there. And then we did some. There's a whole lot on Wally DM's got some. One with zombies, and then you'll find quite a few on HowtoDandD with very unusual monsters. Where else will you find Fun with Monsters? Oh, I think that's it. I mean, I would like AJ to consider that as a viable option, but he always comes up with other ideas, and I just don't think it's his key audience, the other things that he's talking about. I think if we just talk about monsters and how to use them in your games, I think everybody would be watching them a lot more on his channel. So, yeah. Yes, that's what's going on. Bargle was the villain that killed your first adventure buddy. Okay. A pretty cleric. I think I remember the story. In the intro solo adventure in the red box. Yes, I do remember. It was Captain Courageous pointed this out. I remember watching one of his videos and pointing that out, because I haven't actually run the solo adventure. I've never seen it. Okay, we are getting there. We are getting there. I know. It's all just like, oh, what is Fred doing? Fred is unsure exactly what he's doing, but he's getting paint onto the miniature. For those of you who are wanting to know, look, Fry Minis has got a Discord group. He hangs out. Now, what is his time frame again? It's Central Standard Time. Central Standard Time in the United States. Eric at Fry Minis, 8:30 in his time zone, Central Standard Time. He has like a get-together with his subscribers. I may very well show up there today. I might be late, but I probably will show up there today. So if you wanted to come and hang out after this later on, and it's not too late for you, feel free to do so. Right, so, yep, that's the one. Bumpkin, what do you got here? Oh, yes, don't get me wrong, removing the issue of it doesn't solve anything. I just like the new ideas. Yeah, the new ideas really did help fill it out. And we do a lot of this with monsters, Fun with Monsters. Presenting ideas presented, I won't change anything about that. So what we do with the Fun with Monsters is we take the monster and then we present some of the craziest ideas you can imagine. And often they break the mold out of the standard, typical way that you would utilize them. This is one of my favorite things to do, is to subvert people's expectation. Subverting expectations is part of the fun of being a magician. And for those of you who are unaware, I view what you do as a dungeon master as part magician. You show one thing, but there's something else going on. And surprise is part of the magician's arsenal. So if anybody said, if I had to give you an analogy between what a dungeon master is and something in the real world, I would say magician. Okay, so I think I've got all the colour I can on that one sorted. I don't know if it's exactly right. Pale Rider. 100% agree. I put bad things in the game for the players to fight against, not to glorify it. Exactly. And that's always been, they've always put those things in there for that very purpose. And yet people are jumping on them. Like, now we've got a fantasy world where we can actually be successful in breaking tyranny. You know, somebody wants to take over the realm for their own personal gain. we can stop them. These are the sorts of stories that Dungeons and Dragons deal with, and they are stories that we should not allow to be lost, because otherwise those stories are only going to be in our minds, and they're never ever going to be played out. They are the opportunity to hopefully change people's way of thinking, more effective at changing the way people think in changing the name of something that has negative connotations. A lot of people got upset with me when I said something like this, and I want to make it clear. My degree is in psychology. My degree is in psychology, mathematics, sociology, and philosophy. Okay, but my major was psychology. So that is the study of behavior. And one of the things they teach you is social engineering, or how to, there are a whole lot of ways of trying to change the way a society operates. And so they give you, when you're doing your studies, these techniques. All of these techniques are untested. There's never been any research to indicate that any of them are particularly effective. All of the research behind them is dubious because of the nature of what you're trying to study in the first place. But one of those strategies and techniques is at the very bottom of the list. Hello, Fryminis. This is Eric, Fryminis. So for those of you who want to hang out with a painter, and I know a lot of you do, Eric has got his get-together at 8:30 Central Standard Time, I believe, today. And he hangs out with a lot of people who are following his channel. And yeah, how's it going, Eric? So back to sort of the concept of trying to change the way people think. One, what is really obvious from any kind of study of psychology, and particularly human behavior, which is much more complicated than animal behavior, is that trying to change the way people think is almost impossible. It's very difficult to achieve. Extremely, because every new generation you start again. Every time there's a new baby, you're starting again. That's just the very nature of how it works. Now you might understand why I'm planning to show up today. Discord.gg/Fryminis. Cool, good, right. So people are going to be showing up. I'm stealing your idea, Eric. I'm going to be trying to do something like that myself. So, but probably not until after my holiday. So with the techniques that they give you a whole lot of different things. Like, education is viewed as one. It's extremely expensive, not necessarily particularly successful. But the one at the very bottom that is the least successful but the cheapest to employ is changing the name of something that has a negative connotation. And every study, and none of them are particularly effective, these studies, remember, as I said, as every study and every indication has shown that they are the most ineffective, and that they achieve absolutely nothing and simply result in a name change further on down the line. This is just a fact. They don't address the real issue whatsoever, and better than any other technique. And the reason why they pick this technique is because it's cheap. Corporations, companies, institutions employ it because it's cheap and easy to do. And it looks like they are actually trying to change something about what's going on within their organizations. Okay? But it doesn't really achieve very much. If anything, those people that need to a bit more education around this sort of thing, do you know what? They react in such a negative way that it has the opposite effect on them. So the people that you probably were going to get on board anyway are not really changing, because they really weren't the issue in the first place. But those people who needed to, maybe have a bit better understanding about stuff, they just react really, really negatively. This is so common. I work with people in in the humanities for years. And it's always been like that when I've seen it happen. And the research is indicating that too. But companies do it because it makes it look like they're doing something, like they are being socially conscious, and they're not. They're just trying to tick a box. So yes, cheap, easy, most ineffective method, and every technique that is put out there as a way of changing society is theory. There's not a single study that's been done properly that indicates that there is one way of doing it that is probably the most effective. There's nothing there. Never has been. And probably there never will, because of the way, and they say this, like to measure it is so difficult. It's like trying to measure how often you have suicide in your society, right? So because of that, I say the best way to deal with changing people's way of thinking is to get them to mix with each other. You know, that is the best way. Now, how do you do that? Well, you stop schools from having streams where those people who are at the top of the class all go into the same A stream, people go in one place. You mix them up. You mix up nationalities. You mix up everything. You mix up the different social demographics. As soon as you start doing that, people get to actually know each other. I mean, I have a lot of interact with people whose first language is not English. So, therefore, I actually know where their issues lie because they tell me. I might not necessarily agree with them, but they tell me. So, exposure is the greatest tool. And so, Dungeons and Dragons is in this unique place where it can actually help people be exposed to these things. So Guardians of the Flames. I'll have to look that up. Oh, I missed it. I missed that. I was an 8-year-old when Burgle killed my new girlfriend. Scared me too. All right. Interesting. So sorry, I'm just looking back at some of the older chat here. Guardians of the Flame series is completely about college kids getting trapped in a D&D game and using their metagame knowledge to wage a war against slavery of all races. Now, Guardians of the Flame, seriously, the kinds of issues you're talking about there, I think Guardians of the Flame would do extremely well as a story. Sounds like a good story. So yeah, I know, I agree, absolutely. You make a really good point there, Scott. Joel Rosenberg. Okay, good to know. Thank you for that. Pale Rider, what do you got here? Fred, can you get a link to his channel at the end of the stream? Oh, okay. I just made some fresh coffee. The smell is one of my favorites. Tell AJ that you think Spigoth, Blind Warrior women are unpaid interns. Okay, all right, okay, okay. Look, I'll post Eric's link now before I move on to the next color, because we are trying to paint flumps, and it's proving to be extremely tricky, as all of you have discovered, as I've been talking about all of this, and it's not proving to be that easy. Hard to get at. Where are you, Eric? Frymanes. I probably won't be able to find you because I've already watched all your stuff. Apart from what Julie did with some miniatures recently, I think that's the only one. Let's have a look. There it is. Okay, there's the channel. And is this Discord in there? Here's the problem. Is your Discord in the About section? No, so you're going to struggle to find it. I struggled to find it as well. Let's open up and post this thing into chat, because there's the channel. That's YouTube. There's Eric. Discord. Will I find the Discord link that invites you? Eric, you need to help me, man. Just post the link so I can approve it. Post the link for me, Eric. and I'll put it in. I'll press the button that says, yep, Eric can put that link in there because it's to Discord. Okay, make my life easier because it's going to take me forever to find it. Trying to show, yeah, the actual link. There we go. There it is. Okay, so we'll show that one. We'll show this one, and there it is. Okay, I think we're on. Are we on par? YouTube. I've got the channel. I think the Discord is what they're after, mate. Put the link in for the Discord. You're probably working and can't do it right now. You're probably doing something busy. Now, there. All right. So moving on. Next color. Hopefully that's enough information for you guys to find it. I don't think it works like that. Don't you have an invite link? Doesn't Discord have an invite link? I mean, I'm not very familiar with Discord. If you have the invite link, just put it in there, and then people can just click it straight on, and they can join it. Okay, where is no? That green is the one that I just used, so we'll put that back. We're moving on to the next color, which is, I'm going to use Rosy Skin. I know it's a very bright color, but this is what I'm going to use. I know it's a bit crazy, people, so feel free to ignore what I'm about to put out. Okay. But I was looking at it and I was thinking, whoa, it kind of makes it go ping. We'll make the miniature go ping, shall we? Is it filtering you out? I think you have to make him a mod. Do I really? Well, let's have a look here. Oh dear. Alright, Eric. I think you just became a mod. There's no guarantees you'll stay a mod. But it looks like you should be able to post that thing now. Right, so this is the color that's going on. And I totally understand if anybody says, it's too much. But I'm going to do it anyway. It's happening. We're on our way. So Flumphs also possess like really advanced knowledge of religion and philosophy, mathematics, and many other subjects of study. So they're really they are like the book. I'm not going to say bookworms. They are the scholars of the Underdark. They know a lot, and because they operate in sort of like a hive mind, they can share that information. There we go. There's that link that people were asking for, and there's the link to Firene's website and whatever else you can find there. You probably look if you want to put the Patreon in there or whatever else, you do that. I don't mind. Every time you post something, it looks like there's lots of activity in my live stream when there's actually only about 11 people here. I don't think a mod can be classified as spamming. Not if the person running the stream has said, yeah, just fire it all in there. Now, have victory, Scott. Yes, exactly. Hey, have I convinced you to paint live on YouTube and not worry about the analytics yet, or are you just going to stick to Twitch TV, mate? As an aberration, I always figured they'd be more colourful instead of being a waxy yellow colour. Yeah, well, that's why I'm going with that. That's my intention. Don't let me stay too late, people, because I want to go to the beach and I also want to get back and come and hang out with Eric later on and annoy him. We'll probably wind up having some sort of discussion that Bears on the verge of us losing our nut at each other, having an argument. Oh dear. You know, it is all right to have different views. Oh dear. Okay. All right, I'll see you later, Eric. Okay, now, I was working my way through the flumps, wasn't I? While I was painting the flump. Now, for those of you who have been spammed sufficiently by Eric and know where everything is, look, do feel free to ask questions. So one of the things I like about the Flumph is they're very sensitive. They're alert to the emotions of others in their environment, and that affects their mood, which is why when you're painting your Flumph, you can paint them different colours, right? And this represents the mood that they are currently in. Now I could just go with this colour, which is sort of like nothing going on right now, emotionally bland. There's not a lot going on because there's nothing going on with the miniature, correct? But what, Pale Rider, do you ever make it to the beach after these streams? I do make it. I'm about half away from Shelley Beach, and then I find a nice cozy spot and set up with my books, and then I read. And that is quite common for me to do. I do that a lot. Yesterday was a little bit different because I had to go and get some resources from the hardware store, and I went to get a haircut. I haven't had a haircut in 2 years. I've been cutting my own hair, and tell you, it is hard to do, even with clippers. And my clippers had broken, so I had to use it with scissors. So very, very tricky. I was so glad to finally have somebody cut my hair, and they got too fancy, and I'm like, no, look, I'm balding, mate. Just get the clippers. That's right. Put the cutter on for 1.5. I'm used to having hardly any hair. It's summer. I will cope. And just shave it off. Just treat me like a sheep. And shave that sucker off. And away she goes. It was all gone. There was hardly anything left. And she's like, are you sure? And I'm saying, yeah, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. And I feel far more normal now, I have to say. If I'm going to have hair, I want to have hair growing all over the top of the head, not just in one place. So yeah, no, I'm much happier now that haircut has actually happened. So what sort of emotions? Because the colours that they glow indicates the emotion of a Flumph. So what colours are we looking at? Well, first off, blue is to indicate that they're sad, and then pink is if they are amused, so they think something's funny. So if you meet a Flumph and you want to have a good relationship with a Flumph, tell jokes. If you've got a character, you want to tell jokes to Flumphs. They like that. It's a nice change from all of the morbid stuff they get from the mind flayers and the abelisks and so forth. Okay, because that's tends to be a lot of the creatures that they interact with, or at least live close to, because they're siphoning off their psychic energy. They siphon psychic or mental energy, and mind flayers and abelisks tend to have a lot of that. So yes, the Githyanki and the Githzerai also too. So if you're in the Astral Sea, probably not a bad way to sort of include those Flumphs. Tell them a joke. Flumphs like jokes. Then blue is for sad. So don't tell them your whole backstory, okay? Because that'll probably depress them, particularly if it's a long story as well. Okay, I'm poking fun now. And then there's also the red is if you get them angry. So you're probably going to find your Flumphs, if you attack them, are going to go red, and that means you've really angered them. You've upset them so much, and now you're going to be covered in poo juice and sticky stuff. I'm having to change the angle of this so that I can actually see where the paint is going. And the paint is drying really, really fast now, which is not good. Man, it is such a mess trying to paint these things. I don't think the eyes are going to be difficult to put on, frankly. Yes, it does explain the hat, Todd. There's a good reason why I wear the hat. I'm 50. My hair is disappearing. What's that? Make sure you put some sunscreen on the dome, Fred. No, I always wear a hat. Sunscreen on my head is difficult because the hair gets in the way. Even if you shave it back pretty significantly, it is actually better just to go. I find it is just smarter to just go with a hat. So I wear a hat all the time. So I have a cap with New Zealand written on it with a silver fern. Because if you're going to wear a cap, it might as well represent the country that you're from, right? So if you were from the United States, I would imagine it'd be a cap with the United States on it. Yeah? No? Maybe? I don't know. Who knows? Well, that's how I approach it anyway. Most of my caps have that on there. Right, so I'm going to go with a very light green for this Flumph. Don't freak out. I will get to the beach, okay? And I will get to Eric's Discord later on as well. It'll all happen. Just give this a hard shake. Bumpkin, what do you got here? How do Flumps survive in the Underdark? Do they have any defense? Yes, they do. They squirt out a toxic cloud of stinky, smelly gas, and it's poisonous. It's not good for you. That's how they survive. That's the reaction. They're also not much of a threat to anybody. So most of the Underdark creatures aren't particularly interested in trying to deal with them. They're not going to taste that great. It's not like you can stick, just start up the Barbie and shove a Flumph on top there. It's not going to work that way. Flumps aren't that delicious. So, yeah. They're not going to be barbecued. They're not going to be eaten. Because it's a jelly. I mean, do you go around eating jellyfish? Just imagine that. It's basically a jellyfish, right? A camouflage hat or a Las Vegas Raiders cap. All right, okay. Okay, so that's what you go with. All right, Scott, you got it. I can get that. I can see that happening. Camouflage, I believe in camouflage, absolutely. But nobody can notice me. It's a bit hard to camouflage yourself unless you're in the bush. But camouflage works. I guess a grey hat for camouflage in a city. My head just disappeared. Nobody else can see the rest of me. You'd be surprised. Dress in grey in a city and you do sort of blend in completely. Bit bland, but yes. Okay, so where was I with these creatures? So Flumps really aren't a monster or a creature that you butcher. It's not like you go around and like, oh, let's kill it and take its stuff, because they probably don't have any stuff. It's not like they have pockets. Where are you going to stick stuff on a Flumph? Nowhere, okay? So killing them is pointless. They're not really that particularly aggressive, not unless you're doing that. And so therefore it makes more sense for these creatures to be something you interact with. And so that's your go-to. Why? Make friends, you get a new contact, ally, and then pump them for information. Because Flumps will tell you stuff. Particularly if they can figure out what you're all about. And if they like you, they'll tell you stuff. If they don't like you, they won't tell you stuff. Wow. Amazing how this is turning out. This is me just throwing colours onto the miniature. I frankly, look, there is no skill going on here today. I do apologise for those of you who thought you'd be showing up to see somebody who would be skillfully trying to paint these things. Frankly, I am just putting paint on and just trying to figure out what to do with them. That's right, flumps are friends, not food. Hello, Mark. How's it going? Now, let's keep going with this colour. I'm trying to get the top of this dome sorted. Too much water. How did that happen? Let's do that again. Dry it off. Down the front. It's going to take more than one coat of paint to get this colour on, I think. I'm going to be kind of rough about painting the underneath of it. It's quite deliberate, so that's why I've used more than one colour, so that I sort of, if I miss spots, it won't really matter. I don't think I'm going to paint the lighter colour on the inside that much. I think maybe just around here a little bit, but that's about it. And then mostly I think I'm just going to just stroke the outside of the miniature to get the lighter colour on there. I could even have dry brushed this, but I don't think I'm going to be that fancy about it. I think it's going to be just too much of a drag. I feel like I could use another colour to deal with that. And that's probably going to be my approach. Some of these areas here can be lighter. Ones that would be closer to the light. And then the top section I need to fix. There we go. Oh. Now you'll have noticed that I've just been using the same brush the whole time. Yeah, that's right. The same brush all the time. I imagine flumps taste like squid. I don't think they would. Remember, they give off squid give off an ink cloud, but it's not like a farting, smelly stuff. So I think they might taste a lot worse. I think they're probably, because they're in such a dangerous environment, I think that they are probably going to taste appallingly bad if you tried to eat them. Alright, just chucking a bit more paint on here since it's drying and I've still got a little bit left. I'll go around here a bit more. This is definitely going to take more than just a little bit of work to get to come out. So for those of you who thought, well, I'm going to grab a Flumph and it's going to be like an easy paint, I can tell you now, painting Flumphs much more difficult than you might think and take significantly longer than expected. Okay, so I've done that. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the I'm going to do some blue. And I'm going to probably apply this fairly aggressively, for those of you who are wondering what's going on, to the ends of the tentacles. So I'm using Underdark Indigo. Sorry, I didn't tell you, did I? And I've got 4 colours of paint here. Underdark Indigo, that's what I'm going to attack it with. I'm going to hit this with the white now and do the eyes. No skill going on here today. No, absolutely, Todd, you're right. You've shown up to learn nothing. So anybody here who's thought that they were going to show up and they would actually learn anything today, Fred is just throwing paint on like a mad thing. It is a product of I don't know. Is it my current mood? Maybe it's part of the fact that I'm just in a really good mood today. Maybe that's what's going on. Right, so here we go. So white. I'm going to do the eyes. Sort of a big blob of white on the tip of the eye. I want it to be quite broad. Now the reason being is I'm going to do a dot on it as well. with like probably a toothpick. So I need the blob of white on the eyeball to be quite large. There we go. Do it again on the other one. I know what you're going to say is like, Fred, aren't you going to fix up some of the green on here? No, I'm going to let the wash do that. When I wash this miniature, I'm going to let that fill in all the gaps, because I feel like this is the one miniature where you definitely want to rely on the wash. Right, so that was the white. We'll come back to the white maybe a little bit later, but first off, let's just clean out. Stay, you little sucker. Stay. Stay. No. Oh, man. Flumphs do not do what you want them to do. They just like to go wherever. It's like, oh, seriously. Aberrant calamari. Nice one. Cool. I've been reading Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, and I wanted to talk really briefly about what's going on with that for me. I'm finding myself in this very odd situation where there's too much to talk about. I've realized I've written so many notes. So you'll let me know right now if that's the wrong idea. But what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to do a Tasha's Cauldron of Everything review for players and the aspects of the book that are related to the players' content. And then I'll do a review on the book that's targeted at the Dungeon Master tools. And the Dungeon Master primarily, rather than the player stuff. Now, whether that's a good idea, actually, I'm going to use a dry brush, because I don't really want to paint on the inside of these things. And instead of trying to give you advice that's probably going to cause you more grief, let's find a way of painting this in such a way that it's super simple to do, right? So yes, Tasha's Cauldron of Everything is probably going to wind up with 2 reviews and 2 different focuses. So let's bang this around the outside of the blue, about halfway down the tentacle. Bit more paint, bit more paint. Brush it on, brush it on, brush it on. Brush it on, brush it on, brush it on. And maybe just under here a little bit. And then just keep going. And that is how I am going to cheat with this. Because I'm using the dry brush, it should blend reasonably well into the green that's there. Because the ends of the tentacles are usually blue, right? So we can make that happen by just dry brushing it on. Right, so let's do that again. I think I just missed a little bit here on this end of the miniature. And that gets most of the blue on. Turn it on the inside and do the other side here. Cool. Right, that's that bit done. Let's move that over there. So yeah, I think that is the best way to approach it. I could not think of a better way to deal with this. Again, Underdark Indigo, and I'll do the other one. What's that? They taste like hot garbage cotton candy. Is that better? Really? Nice. I don't know that you could you market a Flumph like that? Is it possible? Would it work? I'm not entirely sure that it would, but anyway, so brushing off, and let's just tackle this one's going to be much harder to deal with. I can see it now. Halfway down, the base is going to be hit by this as well. And the tentacles are all wild, they're all over the place, so that doesn't help. We'll soon find out if this was the smart idea or the stupid idea. I mean, obviously this colour scheme is much more traditional to the picture that we have on them. What's this? Just paint it a grayscale and hope no one in the party has a torch. All right, good point. The creature reminds me of the... What's that? Really, I've never come across that. I've never come across that. I'm going to struggle to pronounce that. Firenewt. The Ferium. Is it the Ferium? I don't know. Did I get it right? I don't know. I don't feel I did. But. Okay, so smacking it on. This is an indication that Fred is hugely frustrated by the miniature when he just starts whacking paint on and just unsure as what to do with it. Will I do anything more with it? It is hard to know. I think there's a good reason why I never picked up this miniature to paint it, is because I knew that there was going to be significant problems. I just don't have any Flumph miniatures, and I was like, I kind of want the Flumph miniature for sure, but painting them is not so easy. I'm telling you that now. Okay, so I've done that colour. I need to move down to my next colour because there's 3 more of them to go, and I want to get them done. So let's do the next one, which is going to be Frost Blue. Frost Blue. Where's Frost Blue going to go? I need to put Frost Blue in a spot somewhere so that I can move it around a lot. I guess it'll just have to be here. It's not like I'm using a lot of it, really. So let's do that. And I'll leave it out so I don't forget about it. I'll come back to it in a second. And then brush off. Yep, that'll do. And then stroke. I feel like the blue to green works so much better than the other colour. And so if you're considering doing anything like this, I think the green to blue is definitely the way to go. I feel like the colour scheme is superior in terms of how it's working out. Like now, this one that is really getting cocked up super bad. Let's see if this lighter blue is going to help. Yeah, right, so there. Oh, there's a lot of paint on there. Oh well. Whatever. And I'll fix up the base on that later. I'm just going to attack this thing with some blue. Bit of blue there, bit of blue here, bit of blue here. Yeah, I could go through with a small brush and paint every individual little tentacle. My God, that just sounds just too painful. Maybe I will. And if it happens, you probably won't see me doing it because I'm doing the Eidolon tomorrow. Same time, same bat channel. So I want to do the Eidolon because I've got the Eidolon, and I feel like that's going to be the one for tomorrow. So I'm getting a basic paint job on this little sucker. And then I'm going to let the wash do all the rest and be super lazy about it. What do you got here, Scott? Painting is pretty challenging. I have recently come to find, yeah, it is. My eyes aren't what they used to be. Scott, I find the same thing. It's really hard to explain that to somebody who's younger because they just don't, I mean, they say, oh yeah, but they don't actually understand just how debilitating it is. Because your eyesight and your hand control is so important when it comes to painting small miniatures. It's so important. It's why I tend to paint only large miniatures nowadays, and they tend to be monsters because I can do them, and everything else is just probably just too hard. Right, so this here is the ghostly blue. And yes, I know it's time to go to the beach, but we're almost there. We're almost there. Trust me. I know it sounds like I'm not almost there, but we're almost there. Turn this over. Dip, 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 dip. And brush off. Across the brush like that. That's good. I think that's got it. We're going to start off with the green one because that seems to be working out so much better than everything else. Bit too much paint. And a little bit further down, not quite so high now. We're going to go for just the ends of it. So we get the effect that it's getting lighter at the tips, rather than it's the same color all the way along, because it's not really the highlight color. Okay, so that's that. Oh. Like that. Okay, I'm happy with that. We're moving on. Next one. Tip, 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 and then brush off. And we'll do this one. Now, same thing again. I'm not going to go all the way down the end of the tentacle. It's just going to be part way down. Some of this color. Brush across. I want to leave some of the darker blue. And this is probably the harder miniature of I think this one that's splayed all over the place. It's easier to get inside underneath it, but it's certainly much harder to sort of paint because all the tentacles are all over the place. It'll take a lot longer to actually do. So you're going to have to assign a bit more time to painting something like that. Okay, so that's that. I'll wash that out. I've done that blue. What's that? Yeah, it's beach time. Scott, thank you for pointing that out. It is beach time, so I know I need to get my acting together. So I'm going to do the eyes. Now, what was I was looking at something and I was thinking, like, how do I do the eyes? And I think it's definitely going to have to be, the eyes are going to have to be done with that. It's just, what color eye do I use? A black eye, a colored eye. Oh, that's the choice that I have. So I think, in the chat, let me know. Will I think very, very carefully about how I go about doing this? What is the best color to paint the eyeball itself? Is it blue? Is it black? Is it green? I'm inclined to think it could be a variety of different colors. Black is not really my first go-to. Yeah, so what is it going to be? Pick a color. So I'm going to go with green on this one and blue on the other one. How's that sound? So we want to really a blue that will really pop out. So I'll use this blue here for the eyeball. Test it. Okay. Good Lord. That's the eyeball. That's the eyeball. That was not too bad. Okay, let's just clean off my little toothpick and we'll do the green. I want to use the really light green that I was using before. So that is, no, that's blue and blue. No, we're using blue on both. Blue on both. Sorry about that. I got confused. My party will hopefully be taking on Venom Fang tomorrow. Okay, cool. Hey, all the best with that, because, you know, Venom Fang, I don't know what level they are. Venom Fang can be quite tough, depending on what level they are and their approach. And I think a lot of people feel like Venom Fang should not wipe out a party. I'm not going to say that. That's really up to you. If it happens, remember there are alternatives if characters die. You don't all have to just roll up new characters. It depends on how you do things, right, Todd? Just be open to doing something else. That's that's really what my channel's always been about. Is like try something else and see how it works. Okay, so I've done that color. I'm now using the gelatinous blue color that I've got here. Now my rationale for using this is very different to everything else. The reason I'm using this color is because I'm going to use that as a highlight for the whole miniature, but only for the tentacles, because I really feel like that's the only part that needs it. Which also means I've got to be careful about how much paint I put on. This is actually my last step, other than washing the miniature. Okay, what do you got here, Camille? It's already very late where I am, so have a good night. Not a problem. I'll see you later. Okay, so just dry off this brush. I'm going to go with Mr. Green because Mr. Green's been working out pretty well so far. Is it Mr. Green or Mrs. Green? Actually, that's a good point. Do flumps have a gender? And I don't remember. And I did watch AJ Pickett's video on the topic not that long ago, but I can't remember. Do flumps have a gender? Does anybody remember? Right, let's just go gentle. And I'm going to use it right up even on the green. Okay, there's a bit much. I'm just going to be careful about how much paint comes off this brush, eh? And that's my Flumph, although the front top could do with a little bit more green, but we'll see. Right, let's do the next one. Mr. Chaotic, or Mrs. Chaotic, or It's Chaotic, if it doesn't have a gender. Right. Now, how am I going to deal with this? This is stroke high and then go down low. Stroke high, then go down and low. And underneath and around to there. It's going to take a little bit longer to get this done. Because the tentacles are just all over the place. A little bit underneath. Over here, along the top. Little bit of paint, little bit of paint, little bit of paint. And then underneath. Right, well, I think that got that sorted out, which is quite nice. I'm quite pleased with that. So the cleanup, I think the green one on the top needs a cleanup, so I'll use a different brush and clean that up. And then, where is it? This one here. That one probably could do with a cleanup too, but I feel like that'll be hidden more. We'll see if I decide to do that. Yeah, we'll put another layer of paint on that. Just on the, not the stalks, but just the body of it, I think. Just the top section of the body. Need a drink of water. I'm losing my voice. Right. Paint. Get rid of this. This is not what I need. And stroke. Just to finish off the top. Oh, the little cap just rolled right into me. I'm sorry, I'm moving the miniatures too far away from the camera, so you can't really see what's going on. And if I've been doing that, I do apologize, okay? You feel free to let me know if I do that, because I'll change that. And moving it around. So I haven't really used particularly small brushes today, even though it's a small miniature. I'm not suggesting that is the best way to go. That's just what I did. And along the top. Okay, I think that got that one done. I think that's pretty good. And then let's go with the light colour that I was using before, the rosy skin for the top. I'm just going to do the top of the body. I put out way too much paint. Let's just see if that's enough. And we'll go back over that. And work our way around from the front. It's still a cool monster. I like the Flumph just because it's so unusual. And if you decide to use it, my suggestion to you is think crazy. Like, just go nuts. I think there's even a place for a Flumph that is like a villain. So if you wanted to have a villain that's a Flumph, why not? Oh, whoops! I almost stuck the brush in my drink. not the paint water, but my drink. Yeah, that's a good idea. Right, let's just move this further forward. Sorry, I did it again. Keep moving it back. And there. It's good. On this side here a bit more. Just filling out the colour. Maybe just a little bit underneath there because it's a little bit light, just along here. Do the same thing just around that edge there. Not all the way under though. Okay. Alright, I think that got that bit done. And the base, I actually have a colour for that, which maybe I'll do now. Will it take me that long? Probably not. Don't you worry, I'm jumping in the car and driving off straight after this. It's happening. There. That's all I need. And I'm going to use the standard old brush that's a little bit splayed out. And I'm going to hit this thing over here, move that over there. And we're going to do the base. And really, I'm not trying to put that much paint on. And that's probably too much. Where's a brush drying option? And I'll just go around and just use it to do the highlight on the rocky section. And brush off. You really can't get very easily at that section anyway, so it's not going to make a heck of a lot of difference, I suspect. The access to it is pretty rough. And the angle's not right either, so that doesn't help. Okay, so we'll do the base of this one. And then around the edge, along the top, edge, top. This one's a lot easier to get at the base. There's a little bit of blue there. I can try and paint that out if I can. And I did the same here, so we'll paint that out again. Oh. I've managed to do it without breaking anything, which is nice. I was a little worried I might do that. Yeah, so what paint did I use? Sorry about that, I didn't mention it. I went from the Owlbear brown, I went and used the Minotaur hide for this last colour on the base. Alright, so let's have a look at these things, shall we? I'll wash out my brush. And thread the needle. Got it. Alright, now that I've done that, and now that I've painted them, let's show off what I've done. Let's start off with this one. Let's get that out of the way. Toss that over there. So that is the first one, which is painted more in the vein of what you see in the Monster Manual for Dungeons and Dragons 5e. Okay, so sort of like a khaki brown yellow colour with blue tips, and yeah, I've used black on in the mouths, inside the mouth, to give it the darker look. And then the other one, which I will put that over here. This other one, this green one, which I actually like the green one more than I do the other one. I don't know if it's going to focus that well. So I've gone with green and then blue tentacles at the tips. I think that's worked out better. I have used black underneath both of them to give them a darker look, and inside the mouth again is black. And the eyes are just white and a spot, or a toothpick spot of blue paint. That's it. So really, really simple. Whoops, let's put them back here. You can't see them because I'm putting them too far away. And that's that. There we go. So there is our flumphos. Our flumphos, like that. Something like that. Makes sense to you? All right, makes sense to me? Yep, good, cool. Right, we got it all sorted out. Hey, thank you to everybody who hung out with me for so long painting this miniature. I finally got to a point where I'm relatively satisfied, if not perfectly satisfied, but relatively satisfied with the end result. And I will fix everything else with a wash, okay? If you like my stuff, great. If you don't, I understand. Thank you to my patrons. Thank you to everybody who's been showing up for these live stream painting sessions. It's been great. Thank you very much for that. I do appreciate it. And if you're rewatching this, guess what? There's more of them. So don't worry. Come back. There'll be more of them. I'm going to do it again tomorrow. We'll do the Eidolon, the sacred possessed statue, I believe it is. That's the one that's red. Some of you will be aware of it and some of you won't. Do the usual. Look, if you want to support me, you can do that through Patreon. The Amazon affiliate links down in the description. The merchandise shelf underneath all of my videos, or just watch my videos. That's fine. Make sure to do the usual YouTube things like share, like, and subscribe. Hit the bell button to be notified when I go live and when I publish new videos. And my gosh, do I publish a lot of stuff. And wherever you are in the world, whether it be the morning, the afternoon, the night, or the wee early morning, please look after yourself, your family, and your friends. Be nice to your neighbours. And hey, till next time, keep rolling those 20s. And use more flumphs. I started with Raoul Partha and Grenadar. Yes, I've painted all of those. Not just Nolzur's. I just don't show off those miniatures that much.